I was halfway through my valedictorian speech when my sister stood up in the middle of the auditorium, raised her left hand, and started screaming. She said, "Yes, I'm engaged." 300 heads turned away from me and toward the glittering ring she was waving in the air. My mic was still on. My diploma was still in my hand. And my entire family, who had been clapping 2 seconds earlier for my 4.0 GPA and honors chords, started cheering for her, for Haley. I gripped the sides of the podium so hard my knuckles turned white. The principal tried to shush the crowd. My classmates looked at each other like, "Is this happening?" I glanced over at my parents. Mom was crying. Not for me. For Haley. Because her precious firstborn daughter had finally locked down a man. That was the exact moment I decided I wasn't going to let her have her perfect engagement party. If she wanted to make my graduation about her ring, I was going to make her engagement all about the fact that the ring finger was attached to a cheater. My name is Emily. I'm 23 now, but this story starts when I was 18, standing on that stage in an itchy polyester robe. I grew up as Haley's little sister. Haley is 4 years older, blonde, and the kind of girl who has a different best friend every year and posts carefully curated photos with inspirational quotes underneath. In high school, she was the cheer captain, homecoming queen, every cliché you can think of. Teachers adored her. Boys lined up to carry her books. Mom lived vicariously through her. If only social media had been around when I was in high school, Mom would say, looking at Haley's latest post. We're basically twins. Dad smiled and paid for everything. He was the quiet one, always working, always writing checks. Then there was me. I was the smart one. The kid who read at the table. The one who did the extra credit even when my grade was already an A. I wasn't ugly. I just didn't sparkle the way Haley did. Which, in our house, meant I was background decoration most of the time. Haley's cheer competitions dictated our weekends. Haley's prom photos took over the living room. Haley's first breakup got a day off school and an ice cream run. When I got the highest math score in the district, Mom posted a blurry picture of my certificate on Facebook with the caption, "So proud of my little nerd." But seriously, I hope she learns to have some fun. That was my role. The reliable one. The responsible one. The one who didn't cause trouble. Which made me invisible. Until I made myself heard. Graduating as valedictorian was, in my head, supposed to be the one day that was mine. I'd worked for it for 4 years. While Haley partied at college 2 hours away, I stayed up late doing calculus and AP English essays. I got into the state university on a full academic scholarship. I was the one the guidance counselor used as an example in meetings. Be like Emily, she'd tell younger students. She does everything right. When I got the email officially naming me valedictorian, I ran downstairs waving my phone. "Look," I said. They picked me for the speech. Dad hugged me first. "That's my girl," he said, eyes crinkling. Mom smiled. "That's great, honey," she said. "We'll have to get Haley home for that." Haley texted a clapping emoji, and of course I'll be there. Wouldn't miss its smiling face with 3 hearts for once. It seemed like everyone was actually, genuinely excited about something that was mine. I wrote my speech carefully. I wanted it to be more than clichés. I talked about late-night study sessions. About how none of us were the same people we'd been 4 years ago. About leaving small-town drama behind. I slipped in a line one I thought was clever at the time. Today is about each of us. Our work, our stories, our moment on this stage. I should have known that was tempting fate. Because if there's anything Haley hates, it's a moment on a stage that isn't hers. Graduation day was chaos. My class lined up in the gym sweating under our gowns. Parents filled the bleachers in the auditorium. The principal gave the usual remember your roots speech. Our class president tripped over a joke about parking. Then it was my turn. I walked up to the podium, took a breath, looked out at a sea of faces in caps, spotted my family in the 3rd row. Mom was already holding her phone up to record. Dad waved. Haley blew me a kiss. I smiled back. The first half of my speech went smoothly. People even laughed at my jokes. I got to the "today is about each of us" line. I remember thinking, wow, they're really listening. Then I heard a gasp, a chair scraping, and Haley's voice, shrill and excited. "Oh my God, look!" I lost my place. She was standing up. Her boyfriend Jason was kneeling next to her, holding a little black box. Right there in the middle of the crowded aisle. In the middle of my speech, I froze. The microphone picked up her squeal. "Yes," she shouted. "Yes, of course." The entire auditorium turned. My classmates on stage did that high school horror movie thing where they looked at each other, eyes wide. The principal half stood like he wasn't sure whether to intervene. Jason stood up, put the ring on Haley's finger. They hugged. Someone started clapping. Then everyone did, including my parents, including the teachers. No one was looking at me. I stood there, still holding my speech. My heart hammered. Part of me wanted to melt into the floor. Part of me wanted to throw the microphone at them. Instead, I did what I'd been trained to do my whole life. I smiled. The principal stepped up behind me, patted my shoulder, and leaned into the mic. "Let's, give a big congratulations to our newly engaged alumna," he said weakly. More cheers. More applause. He turned to me. "Keep going," he murmured. "You're doing great." I swallowed. My throat felt tight. I looked down at my paper, blinked back tears, and finished the rest of my speech on autopilot. I don't remember what I said. I just remember the sound of Haley's ring clinking against the seat as she hugged everyone around her. After the ceremony, it was worse. People swarmed Haley. Not me. "Let me see. How did he do it? Did you know?" She soaked it up, of course. "Jason just couldn't wait another minute," she said. "Isn't that so romantic? And during my baby sister's big moment. It's like we're sharing it." She said that to my face, while I still had my cap on. I glanced at Mom, hoping for at least a little outrage on my behalf. Instead, Mom squealed. "Let me see the rock," she said, grabbing Haley's hand. "It's a family heirloom," Jason said proudly. "My grandmother gave it to me before she passed." Dad clapped him on the back. "Welcome to the circus, son," he said. No one asked about my speech. No one said, "That was rude, Haley." A couple classmates hugged me and said good job. But my family? They were too busy taking engagement photos in front of the school sign. When I finally stepped up, Mom handed me my diploma. "Can you hold my bag?" she asked. "I want to get a picture of them by the fountain." I stared at her. "Sure," I said. I held her purse. I watched them pose. I smiled when they turned the camera on me for a second. Inside, something bitter curled up and settled in my chest. Haley had always innocently sucked up attention. But this was different. This was my once-in-a-lifetime moment. And she'd hijacked it on purpose. Jason had clearly planned the whole thing. He didn't seem sorry. My parents thought it was the cutest thing ever. I realized right then that if I didn't do something, the story of my graduation would always be the day Haley got engaged, not the day I graduated at the top of my class. So I did what I always do when I'm upset. I went quiet. And I paid attention. Because people like Haley always give you the rope they'll eventually hang themselves with. You just have to be patient enough to keep it. Haley and Jason's engagement became the new main character of our family. Every dinner, every group text, every phone call. "Look at this venue I found. Should we do blush or champagne for the bridesmaids? Jason's mom says we have to invite her Pilates friends." I went off to college in the fall. State University, 2 hours away. I loved it. No one there knew me as Haley's sister. Just Emily, the girl who asked too many questions in lectures and always had highlighters. I came home for holidays and the occasional weekend. Every time, there was a new wedding task dominating the house. My bedroom had become wedding storage. My old desk was now a Pinterest board dumping station. One Thanksgiving, Mom pulled out a big binder. "We decided on a date," she said. "Next June. That way Haley will have enough time to plan the perfect engagement party this winter, then bridal showers, then the bachelorette engagement party?" I repeated. "Didn't they already have one? At my graduation?" Mom waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, that was just a spur-of-the-moment thing," she said. "This will be official, catered, decorations. You'll come home for that, won't you?" I stabbed my turkey a little harder than necessary. "Sure," I said. Haley chimed in. "Em can do a speech," she said. "She's so good at them. You know, like at graduation." Everyone laughed. I smiled tightly. I guess from their perspective, they'd done nothing wrong. No one had called them out. Why would they think otherwise? That night, as I lay in my childhood bed under a pile of tulle, an idea started forming. It was petty. It was risky. It was also poetic. But it needed fuel. And fuel, in this case, meant proof of what I already suspected. Because here's the thing. Jason was not exactly a paragon of loyalty. I'd watched him in high school. He was the guy who always had his arm around someone at a party. Sometimes it was Haley. Sometimes it wasn't. I'd hoped he'd grown up in college. But over the summer before my graduation, I'd seen some things. Texts on his phone when he'd left it on the table. DM notifications popping up from names I didn't recognize. Haley would brush it off. "Oh, he's just friendly," she'd say. "Girls flirt with him all the time, but he always comes home to me." I wasn't so sure. I didn't have concrete proof. Not yet. But if I was going to publicly shatter her fairy tale, I needed more than suspicion. I needed receipts. So I waited. The chance came during winter break of my freshman year. I came home 2 weeks before Christmas. The entire house looked like Pinterest exploded. Fairy lights. Gold spray-painted pine cones. Engagement party invitations stacked by the door. Haley and Aunt Jason's forever beginnings, they said in curly font. The party was set for the Saturday before Christmas at a fancy event space downtown. Open bar. Catered appetizers. A DJ. My parents had spent more on the engagement party than they'd ever spent on any of my birthdays combined. "I hope everyone saves some enthusiasm for the actual wedding," Dad joked. Haha. Haley was in full bride mode. She had spreadsheets, group chats, aesthetic boards, and, apparently, a side project I hadn't been aware of. I found out about it via Instagram, of all places. I was at the mall with my best friend, Alina, looking for a dress I could wear to the party. Alina was scrolling while I tried on something sparkly. "Is that Jason?" she said suddenly. I peeked out of the dressing room. She was looking at a story from a girl we'd gone to high school with, Candace. Candace had always floated around the popular crowd. Pretty. Messy. Her story showed a dark bar. Neon lights. People dancing. 2 people kissing in the corner booth. You couldn't see their faces clearly. But you could see a very distinctive leather jacket. The one with the white stripe on the sleeve that Jason wore everywhere. And a wrist tattoo, a small cross that looked an awful lot like Candace's. Alina pinched to zoom. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Is that?" I stepped closer. My stomach flipped. It really looked like Jason. "When was this?" I asked. She tapped the little timestamp. "Last night," she said. 2 a.m. Last night, Haley had texted the family group chat. "Jason and I are doing a cozy movie night. Wedding planning is so exhausting, lol." I stared at the story. At the jacket. At the familiar build. He could have lent someone his jacket, sure. People could have matching tattoos, sure. But my gut said otherwise. "What do we do?" Alina asked. I said, "Nothing. Yet." Because a blurry bar story, while damning emotionally, wasn't enough for what I had in mind. I needed undeniable proof. The universe, again, provided. She really must hate cheaters. A few days later, I ran into Candace at the grocery store. She was in line behind me with a bottle of wine and a frozen pizza. "Emily?" she said. "Oh my God, hey." We chatted. She asked about college. I asked vaguely about what she was up to these days. She grinned. "Working at the salon, hanging out," she said. "Trying to stay warm until Florida in March." "Nice," I said. There was a pause. We both knew what I'd seen. She bit her lip. "So, you saw my story the other night?" she said finally. I raised an eyebrow. "The one with the mysterious jacket?" I asked. She winced. "I didn't realize people still followed both of us," she said. "Small town, I guess. Is there something you want to tell me?" I asked. She hesitated. "I didn't know they were engaged," she said quickly. "I swear. He said they were on a break because she was being controlling about the wedding." I believed him. Then I saw the ring on her story the next day, and I was like, "Oh cool, I'm the side chick." She rolled her eyes. "I blocked him," she added. "I'm not about that drama." I believed her. Jason was exactly the kind of guy who'd say we're basically broken up to justify doing whatever he wanted. "Do you still have the story?" I asked. She laughed dryly. "In my camera roll?" she said. "Of course." I like to remember my mistakes. She pulled out her phone, scrolled, showed me the original video. This time I looked closer. The angle was better than what showed up on the public story. You could clearly see Jason's profile, and Haley's fiancé had a very distinctive profile. Send that to me? I asked. She raised an eyebrow. Planning something? She asked. Just protecting my sister, I said. She snorted. If my sister's fiancé was kissing me at a bar, I'd want someone to tell me, she said. There. My phone buzzed. One video. One screenshot of their chat where he'd said, "Don't post that lol, H will freak." I saved them. Backed them up. Created a folder on my laptop called Jason. Under that, a subfolder, insurance. A week later, 2 days before the engagement party, I got even more. From Jason himself. Haley had gone to pick up her dress from the alterations place. Mom was out buying candles or napkin rings or something equally critical. I was home, allegedly studying for my econ final, when Jason knocked on the door. "Hey Em," he said. "Is Haley here?" "Nope," I said. She went to get her dress. He stepped inside anyway, dropping onto the couch like he owned it. "Cool," he said. "Just wanted to talk to you about something." My stomach tightened. "What's up?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. He glanced at his reflection in the TV, adjusted his hair. "You're like reasonable," he said. "Not dramatic like Haley. I figured you'd get it." "Get what?" I asked. He lowered his voice, conspiratorial. "Last weekend," he said. "At the bar. With Candace." I kept my face blank. "What about it?" I asked. He sighed. "Someone sent Haley a screenshot," he said. "She freaked. Said I was cheating. Said she'd call off the engagement if I ever did something like that again." "If you ever did?" I repeated. "So, you didn't?" He smirked. "We were on a break," he said. I told her that. She was being insane about the guest list, so I went out to blow off steam. "It was just a kiss. Doesn't mean anything." "Your definition of insane is asking for loyalty?" I said. He shrugged. "You don't get it," he said. "Women like you and Haley, you think guys should just be monogamy robots. It doesn't work like that. Men have needs. As long as he comes home to you, what's the problem?" So many problems, actually. I took a slow breath. "Did you tell her that?" I asked. He laughed. "Of course not," he said. "I told her it was nothing, and that it wouldn't happen again. You know how she is. She wants the fairy tale. I'm giving it to her. I just need a little flexibility." He looked at me like he expected me to nod, to be chill. Instead, I leaned back. "Jason," I said, "do you really think you deserve to marry my sister if that's how you treat her?" He rolled his eyes. "Here we go," he said. "Look, can you just not say anything? She trusts you. If you back me up, this will all blow over. In a few years, she'll be pregnant. I'll have a promotion. We'll laugh about our wild youth." I stared at him. "You want me to lie for you?" I asked. "Not lie," he said. "Just soften it. Tell her it wasn't as bad as it looked. Girl code or whatever." "Girl code is exactly why I won't," I said. He scoffed. "Well then, keep your moral superiority to yourself," he said. "This isn't your relationship. Don't make it your hobby." He stood up. "See you Saturday," he said. "Try to smile. Engagement parties are supposed to be fun." He walked out. I exhaled. Then I picked up my phone. I'd had it recording the whole time. The file name popped up, voice0034.m4a. I saved it to the Jason folder. Now I had a video of him kissing another woman 2 weeks before the engagement party. A screenshot of him begging that woman not to post it. An audio recording of him admitting it and dismissing Haley's feelings. The old me would have gone straight to Haley, pulled her aside, begged her to listen. That version of me would have been called jealous, dramatic, trying to ruin her happiness. The new me remembered graduation. Remembered being humiliated in front of an entire auditorium and being expected to smile through it. The new me decided that if Haley wanted to create a spectacle at my celebration, I'd give her a spectacle at hers. The engagement party was extra. The venue was one of those rustic chic barns with twinkle lights and mason jars pretending to be sophisticated. There was a sign at the entrance. "Welcome to Haley and Amp Jason's Forever Begins." Ring Sparkle's tables were covered in blush linens. There was a champagne wall. A photo booth with props. I wore a simple navy dress I'd bought with my campus job money. Mom wore sequins. Haley wore white, of course. A tight dress that made her look like she'd stepped off a bridal magazine. Jason wore a suit and that same stupid leather jacket. Haley squealed when she saw me. "You look so grown up. College is doing wonders for you." She hugged me, ring hand prominently displayed. "Ready for my big night?" she asked. "More than you know," I said. She didn't catch the tone. She was too busy basking. People milled around drinking champagne and eating tiny appetizers. The DJ played Ed Sheeran on loop. About an hour in, Mom clinked her glass. "Everyone," she called. "Can I have your attention?" The room quieted. "We're so happy you could all come celebrate our Haley and her Jason," she said, beaming. "They're the perfect couple. And we're bursting." Dad put an arm around her. "We thought it'd be nice to hear from a few people who love them most," he said. "Haley's best friend, Jenna, will say a few words. And then Emily, of course. She's so good at speeches." My stomach flipped. So they did want me to speak. Perfect. Jenna went first. She told an overly long story about Haley crying over boy bands in 7th grade. Everyone laughed. Jason took a shot. Then Mom looked at me. She said, "Your turn." I walked up to the little portable mic the DJ had set up. My hands shook. Not with fear. With adrenaline. "Hi," I said. "For those of you who don't know me, I'm Emily. I'm Haley's little sister." A few people clapped. Haley beamed at me from the front of the room, arm linked with Jason's. I smiled back. "I wrote something for tonight," I said. "But before I read it, I want you all to watch a short video." The DJ, as instructed ahead of time, dimmed the lights and switched the projector input from the slideshow of cutesy couple photos to my laptop. A bar scene appeared on the screen. Neon lights. People dancing. Then the camera shook as whoever filmed Candace giggled. It zoomed in on a corner booth. On Jason and Candace. His hand on her waist. Her hand in his hair. Kissing. Not a peck. A full, can't pretend this is innocent kiss. The room went dead silent. Someone gasped. Haley stiffened. Jason's face drained of color. I let it play for a full 10 seconds. Then I paused it at the clearest frame. Jason's side profile was unmistakable. So was his jacket. "Some of you might recognize this handsome guy," I said into the mic, voice steady. "That's Jason. This was filmed 10 days ago at Crossroads Bar. That's not Haley." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jason sputtered. "Turn that off," he barked. "This isn't funny." I ignored him. Now, I continued, "Some people might say, it was just a mistake. He was drunk. It didn't mean anything. So, in the interest of fairness, I thought we should also hear Jason's perspective. In his own words. I clicked another file. Audio this time. The speakers crackled. Then his voice filled the room. We were on a break. She was being insane about the guest list, so I went out to blow off steam. "It was just a kiss. Doesn't mean anything. Women like you and Haley. You think guys should just be monogamy robots. It doesn't work like that. Men have needs. As long as he comes home to you, what's the problem?" Haley's hand flew to her mouth. Jason lunged toward the DJ table. "Cut the sound," he shouted. The DJ glanced at me. I nodded. He stopped it. I turned the lights back up. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then chaos erupted. "What the hell, Emily?" Haley shouted, eyes brimming with tears. "Why would you do that?" "Because you deserve to know," I said. "Before you permanently hitch yourself to someone who thinks cheating is just having needs." Jason grabbed my arm. "That was private," he hissed. "You recorded me without my permission." I twisted my arm free. "It's a one-party consent state," I said. "Look it up." His jaw clenched. "You're ruining everything," he said. "No," I said calmly. "You ruined everything when you kissed someone else and bragged about it in my living room." I turned to Haley. "I tried to give you your moment at my graduation," I said. "You made it about you and this guy. I figured the least I could do was return the favor and make sure tonight was actually about your relationship. All of it." The crowd was in full whisper mode. Haley's friends looked horrified. Jason's buddies from work had "oh no" written all over their faces. Mom looked like she might faint. Dad's expression was complicated. Anger. Surprise. Maybe a flicker of pride he'd never admit. Haley's shoulders shook. How long have you known? She asked. Since last week, I said. When Candace sent me the video. Then Jason confirmed it yesterday by telling me you were insane for being upset. She turned to Jason. Is that true? She demanded. Did you tell my sister I'm insane? Did you say we were on a break? He opened and closed his mouth like a fish. She's twisting it, he said. You know how dramatic she is. It was nothing. I was drunk. I thought you could do whatever you want and I'd be grateful you came home to me, she said, repeating his words. Isn't that what you said? He blanched. That's not. She ripped the ring off her finger. Gasps. Here, she said, shoving it into his chest. Take your grandma's ring. Maybe you can give it to the next girl you lie to. He grabbed it reflexively. Haley, don't do this in front of everyone, he said, voice rising. We can talk. You did it in front of everyone, she said, gesturing around. Don't act shy now. She turned on her heel and walked toward the exit. Her friends scrambled after her. Mom rushed to follow. Jason stood there, red-faced, clutching the ring and glaring at me. This is all your fault, he snarled. I laughed. Maybe if you'd kept your tongue to yourself, we wouldn't be here, I said. Actions meet consequences. He swore under his breath and stormed out a different door. The DJ awkwardly put on low background music. People started to disperse. Dad came up to me slowly. That was dramatic, he said quietly. I braced myself for a lecture. But, he added, he needed to be exposed. I won't have my daughter marrying a man who talks like that. I blinked. You're not mad? I asked. He sighed. Do I wish it hadn't ruined the party we paid for? He said. Sure. Do I understand why you did it? Also yes. He paused. And, we probably owe you an apology for graduation, he said gruffly. That wasn't fair to you. It was the closest I'd ever heard him come to saying they'd messed up. I swallowed hard. Thank you, I said. He patted my shoulder. Come on, he said. Help me box up the uneaten appetizers. No sense letting them go to waste. We loaded up trays in silence. People passed us on their way out, some giving me sympathetic looks, some approving ones. Alina texted me from across the room. 10/10. Would attend again. I sent back. One show only. The days after the party were messy. Haley went nuclear. At first, she didn't speak to me at all. She deleted me from her Instagram highlights, blocked me on Snapchat. Mom yelled at me in the kitchen. You could have told her privately, she said. We didn't need a spectacle. She made my graduation a spectacle, I said. I figured she preferred public announcements. That's not the same, Mom snapped. You're right, I said. She shared good news. I shared the truth. Dad stayed mostly quiet. He drove Haley to her therapist appointment. He answered relatives' questions with, it's between them. I gave Haley space. Then, 2 weeks later, she showed up at my dorm unannounced. I was in sweatpants, hair in a bun, halfway through a statistics problem set when she knocked. I opened the door and froze. She looked wrecked. No makeup. Eyes puffy. Wearing an old hoodie I hadn't seen since high school. Can I come in? She asked. I stepped aside. She sat on my bed. I closed my laptop. We sat there in silence for a minute. Finally, she spoke. I hated you for what you did, she said quietly. Still kind of do. I know, I said. But, she continued, I would have hated you more if you'd let me marry him. I looked at her. She stared at her hands. I went through his phone, she said. After the party. There were other Candaces, Tinder messages, DM. He'd been doing this for years. My stomach twisted. I'm sorry, I said. I didn't know it was that bad. She let out a bitter laugh. Of course you didn't, she said. You were busy actually building a life while I was pretending mine was perfect on Instagram. She looked up at me. What you did at graduation was shitty, she said. No sugarcoating. But announcing my engagement in the middle of your speech was also shitty. I just didn't see it then. I exhaled. That's fair, I said. I shouldn't have let that sit for as long as I did. We both made choices. She nodded slowly. Next time I have news, she said, I'll call you, not your microphone. I smiled. Next time I have receipts, I said, I'll send them privately first. We both laughed a little. She nudged my shoulder. For what it's worth, she said, that video drop was iconic. Lena gave it a 10/10, I said. She always liked drama, Haley said. Wonder where she gets it. We sat there, two sisters who'd spent years orbiting each other's shadows, finally seeing the full picture. It wasn't a perfect reconciliation. We still get under each other's skin. She still occasionally makes everything about her. I still occasionally fantasize about muting the entire family group chat. But there's a new understanding. A new line. She knows I won't quietly accept being overshadowed. I know she's capable of learning, even if it takes a public disaster. Jason, for his part, is engaged again. To someone else. Haley and I sometimes send each other screenshots of his cringy engagement posts with the caption, "Good luck, girl." We never comment. We've done our part. Do I regret blowing up her engagement party? Sometimes. When I think about how humiliated she looked. When I picture Mom's face, devastated not just for her eldest daughter, but for the wasted deposit. But then I remember my own humiliation. Standing at a podium while an auditorium full of people turned their backs on me. Watching my achievement get swallowed by a glittering ring. Hearing my sisters say we were sharing the moment without any awareness of how selfish that was. And I remember Jason's words. We were on a break. It doesn't mean anything. As long as he comes home to you, what's the problem? I think about a future where Haley married that. Built a life on that. Had kids with that. And I don't regret it. Because sometimes the only way to break a pattern is to shatter the fantasy in front of everyone. She taught me that people will take as much of your spotlight as you let them. I taught her that some spotlights show everything, even the shadows she tried not to see. My sister announced her engagement during my graduation. So I announced her fiancé's cheating scandal at her engagement party. Petty? Absolutely. Necessary? Also yes. Because if you're going to hijack someone else's big day, you'd better make sure your own story is actually worth celebrating. Otherwise, don't be surprised when the truth decides it wants a mic too.